NXT show, which is live right now, guys. NXT Unpopular Review. We're going to talk about all things NXT. NXT just went off the air. There's a lot of stuff to discuss. There was a North American Championship match. There was a NXT Championship match. We have also next week, there's going to be an NXT Gauglet, a gauntlet for the Women's Championship. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about it all. We are live. We are live here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Yes, we still say Twitter and Twitch. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about it after, you know, the whole like intro thingy thing. So, intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unpopular Review.
Thank you all for clicking on our faces.
New flag with all that.
Okay, so I wrote down some notes.
Let's do that.
I don't want to sit too hard.
That's twice. That'll probably go over about as well as Colonel Defeat.
Because there was no Jay White side.
Hey, just straight up gangbanging. This story has been fit. You gotta pay attention.
So Unpopular Review does not. What is the CEO of, Chris? Jesus, golly. Let's start the show.
Hey, folks. I think we already did that whole introduction on what we're about. This is Unpopular Review, the NXT Review Show. I'm one of your hosts, the Great Grand Slam Pooba, and I'm joined with, on Tuesdays, Sabrina, Estella, a.k.a. the Wrestling Doll. Wrestling Doll, how are you on this Tuesday night?
I'm doing fine. NXT was fine. It was a fine show. It was a good chill day today for me. Just going to give a quick shout out to one of my friends who is a indie wrestler. Ooh. It's his birthday today, and I'm wearing merch. Ooh. So happy birthday to this one, to Rafael Delgado. Going to give a little shout out because I can, and I'm on the internet, and I don't care.
Let's give a shout out to that gent. Happy birthday, dude. He's born August. August is like the best month, honestly. I'm biased because my birthday is literally next week. So I sit here and go, this is the best month. This is where greatness is born. I see already my arch nemesis is in the chat, but I do want to give him his praise and his flowers. No, I'm kidding. I just dropped the flowers in the sewers. You will get no flowers from me, Z the Silence, because I know what you tried to do. You tried to take my co-host and take her, and you did a fantastic job. I think you outshined everyone on the SmackDown Penitentiary. I'm glad that you don't stay there anymore because sloppy joes are the worst because they're sloppy. I have no follow-up for that.
Well, it is in the name. It's a sloppy Joe.
And it's, yeah. No one wants to, you don't want to eat no Joe. Come on. You want to have.
Well, most of us don't want sloppy seconds, but apparently Liv Morgan does. Anyways, tonight we had NXT.
Wow. I could tell he was on Fridays. That was very rude. She listen, I wanted to say real quick because I was on the Monday Night Review show earlier. Shout out to Freckle Francais and the Sheriff. And I think Liv Morgan is the hero in all this. Rhea did not give one Dominic Mysterio his chicken tenders, which is fantastic. I had some chicken tenders last week, and I will sit here and say again, they were really cheap with the honey mustard, and honey mustard goes very well with that. But real quick, Wrestling Doll, what did you think about NXT tonight? I'm going to give you the floor, and we're going to get into the chat. Z, stop it.
Well, I'm just about to say NXT was a pretty good show tonight. I mean, we did get some explanation from why Wes Lee decided to break everybody in the NXT universe's heart, including mine, to the point where I dramatically changed my Instagram profile picture because it was that heartbroken and hurt. But show was good. I mean, I really don't have any complaints about it. But we started out with Sarah trying to talk to Wes Lee about what had happened. He refused to explain himself back there. So our era of ego, all ego NXT me champion and Ethan Page grabbed the microphone to talk about potential challengers such as Trick Williams and Pete Dunne, who could come in and try to take the belt away from him, but he knows that it ain't gonna happen. Joe Hendry comes in to interrupt to lay claim on an NXT championship opportunity, and he just basically brushes Joe Hendry off and just walked out, and Wes Lee came out and super kicked him in the face.
I was able to catch because I asked you to talk about this segment because I was on Raw, so it was hard to take notes and I had the TV muted. But I was seeing some of this, and some of the things I got out of here is I like that there's a lot of potential opponents for this NXT championship, like you mentioned. You talked about Joe. Almost said Joe Gacy. I'm sorry. There's so many Joes, so I'll say Joe Gacy. I might even say
Williams, Pete Dunne, Mr. I Believe, Joe Hendry.
Yes, Joe Hendry. So I like that Joe Hendry's in this. I like Wes Lee wanting to make his name on here. I mean, he just turned heel, so now he's like, look, that's and we're going to talk about the Wes Lee promo a little bit later. But for me, it's almost like he pushed us to the side, right? Like, push the feud that he has with the Rascalz, Winston and Trey. And also, real quick, I do want to say, we didn't see it live, but it was kind of one of those things you see on social media. But Trey sold that portrayal like he really sold it. I don't know if you saw it, but he was really crying. Like, I think I started crying seeing that.
I saw it once and I cried, and that's enough for me.
That was enough.
Nobody's gonna get me to watch that ever again.
It's funny, I think when I saw it, I was like, why did you upload this again just to make me just to hurt me? So I just wanted to give flowers to Trey because Trey really sold that he was really betrayed. George is also mentioning in the chat. Shout out to George and shout out to Z in the chat. But George mentioned Trick Williams is going to be involved. Just wait. We're going to talk about Trick a little bit, but I don't see him right now. So I want to make sure I got this right. So we're going to have a triple threat later next week. So we're going to have Joe Hendry, Wes Lee, and Pete Dunne. And right now I already see how Joe Hendry is going to win this because I see Wes Lee is going to be in a feud. He's in a feud right now. He's going to be fighting Zachary, right? Oh, Zach Winston.
Zachary wins.
Okay, there we go. I'm mixing all these names up. I'm one day I'm going to get that man's name right. So I do apologize about that, sir. But then you also got Pete Dunne, who's not done. Like Trick says, I'm not done with you. I mean, I think we could just tie this all in. But Trick says later in the night, okay, you beat me. That's cool. But I've overcome a lot of things. And he talked about how when Carmelo turned on him and he had a plan. And he talked about that story about when he was in high school and someone threw a rock through his car. And he took on 3 of the guys who did it. But he said, okay, that was stupid to go against those 3 guys. But he took them on one-on-one and he got his look back. So I say what I simply say is that I'm eliminating Pete Dunne is not going to go over because him and Trick are not done. And then you also have Wes, once again, going against Zachary. So, yeah, I see Joe Gacy I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Joe Hendry. I might have to just say Hendry, just so I don't confuse myself because I'm constantly confusing myself, which I think is interesting because Joe, with Hendry going over, he's a TNA guy, but they realize his star,
yes. And they also realized that once upon a time ago, Ethan Page was also a TNA star, not a solo champion.
True.
He was a tag champion as part of the North.
Yes, good job.
Josh Alexander.
Yeah.
So we should definitely see how their history plays out because one of the last times that Ethan Page and Wes Lee were in a ring together, it was a 6-man tag match, and the Rascalz lost.
Really? Oh, this was when in TNA?
Yes. They made a compilation video of the matches that the Rascalz have had. That one was in the middle. I watched it. It was good. It was the
Wow.
North with Moose versus the Rascals. It was a fun match.
Well, okay. There's something. Okay, didn't know that. All right, good job with the facts. We got George. He said Pete Dunne has a match with Sheamus next week on Raw. Yeah, so Pete Dunne is going to be pretty busy next week. I'm glad that I forgot about that piece, but right, Pete Dunne, because he did attack Sheamus yesterday, hit him with a shillelagh. So yeah, he's going to be busy on Monday and Tuesday. Pete Dunne is working hard for the money. We got good Chris in the chat. He says, Chase you. We're going to talk about them later, but I am very not happy about this. We got Charmaine. She says, hi, Russell and Dar. I hope you like the picture of Cha-Cha Charlie. And next Saturday, I am seeing TNA Moose. My friend is Chris Angels. Is Chris Angel I feel like that's like a magician or something like that, no?
That's another one. She sent me a picture of an indie show that she was at, and Cha-Cha Charlie is an indie wrestler who I had seen at shows for the last 2 years. Decent guy outside of the ring. That's all I'm going to say about that.
All right. We got George. He says the Terror Twins. I call them the Tibble Twins, if you watch Arthur, versus Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio at Bash in Berlin. I think that Morgan and Dominic should teach these guys a lesson, and I think that they will. Good job, Dominic. I do want to say something real quick. I want to say something real quick. I don't know if I should say this on air, but I had one Shay Sawyer write me, and she said, I now see what you see in Rey Mysterio, because I've been saying for years that Rey Mysterio is a fraud. There was something where he is rooting for his son to get his ass kicked by the Tibble Twins, and like I've been saying, he's a fraud, and I'm glad that people are starting to see this. I know you guys think I'm a madman, and you're partially right, but every now and then I am hitting it on the back. I don't think that came out any good. I just thought I was saying things. We got George, who says Rhea Ripley and Dominic are going to dominate Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. I think you're using that word wrong. Terrible. And I like Charmaine's comment. She says Chase U needs to go, and I agree. They should go far, far, far away, because they're not good people, and I don't like them. Let's talk about we talked about the opening segment. Let's talk about the opening match. We had Tony D'Angelo. He's defending the NXT Heritage Cup against Charlie Dempsey. Yeah, I didn't even write like each thing going on.
I mean, with that particular match, it's a little hard to keep up with, because it's only happening for a little bit. So when the momentum picks up, it stops. So it's hard to keep up at times. But it was fine. I mean, basically, all this showed was if Wren Sinclair wasn't there to help them out, then Charlie wouldn't have gotten the cup back, which he was so obsessed with getting back, and felt like he got pushed into a dark hole and was crawling his way out of from losing so much for ages since losing it.
I did want to say real quick, because Tony D'Angelo, I've said a few times, like, this match type is just not really my favorite kind of thing. I think that, and I think you noted on the head how sometimes there'll be a little bit momentum, but then it stops. So we have like 2 minutes of each round, right? And just when it might be picking up a little bit, it stops and kind of ruin the momentum. And I think that's what it is for me. But Tony D'Angelo actually has been killing it in this match. I was listening to, I'm going to give a shout out to the Brooklyn Power Trip. These are guys I listen to. Sometimes he's in the comments, RJ Savage. And I liked something that he mentioned, and it was something I didn't even think about, but it felt like Tony D'Angelo, this is kind of his match type. And I think he's really excelled. And I was watching it tonight, and I'm not trying to act like this is my favorite match. That's not what I'm trying to get at. But I was like, this is he kind of excels at this kind of thing. Tony D'Angelo, he gets the first fall. Charlie gets the second fall. And I might have mixed this up because I don't think I have my notes in point here. But when he got the second fall, was that before or after Sinclair slapped him?
Might have been after.
Might have been after. Okay. Because she slapped him and she put some fire. I said on X that She's honestly the best thing for this group. No quarter catch crew. I think she's just been a breath of fresh air. And yeah, she slapped some sense into him, and then he got some fire. And they went 2 more rounds. Charles Dempsey get the win. There was a spot, and I missed this a little bit here. So there was a spot. I think she interfered.
Yes.
Okay, so she did interfere, and that gave
interferes, and basically she knocked Tony D off the second rope and set Dempsey up to hit him with the bridging butterfly suplex to take the
beautiful
second
move, by the way. No, it's a beautiful move, by the way. And yeah, Charles Dempsey gets the championship. I'm sorry, the cup back. I mean, they call it a championship, honestly. So, like,
basically,
yeah.
I mean, every company is going to have a championship or a belt that either the rules don't make much sense to us, or we just don't really pay too much attention to, or we just don't really talk about it because it's not allowed on TV. Like the WWE Speed Championship, they don't talk about it on TV. We've been saying for people, oh, women need some mid-card titles so they have more to fight for. Now they're going to get the woman one. Y'all are going to give the woman a belt that they can only fight for 3 minutes on Twitter, and then it's not going to get brought up on TV?
Right.
When was the last time we heard anybody say that Andrade was a WWE Speed Champion?
You know, I kind of
hear because he can't bring up the belt unless it's for Twitter.
You know, you mentioned that. I feel like last week when he had that match with Carmelo Hayes, if I looked at the graphic, so I don't even acknowledge that belt. I just don't. I don't care for that, right? And I believe on the graphic, I saw Carmelo and I saw him and he had a belt. I said, what? When did he get that? Oh, that's the speed belt.
Because they don't talk about it because they can't. It's not a TV championship. Therefore, they can't talk about it on TV.
But Wrestling Doll, let me ask you.
The only person that brought it up on TV was Corey Graves.
Yeah, and he might have even said that by accident. He might have just said something and he said, oops, that's spilled. But let me ask you, would you even want them to even talk about that championship?
I mean, if we don't get Andrade complaining that he won that belt and now they can't talk about it on TV for nothing, I don't want to hear backstage like all of a sudden, oh, now we're going to talk about the Speed Championship belt because Andrade complained that he won a belt and now he can't even say that he's a champion on TV.
Let's get into the chat. We got, I believe that's George. I'm sorry. I'm going to make sure because I didn't move up. But it says the D'Angelo family, I guess the no quarter catch crew. Such a long name. I just, jeez. We got also Chris. He says, like, does the Pure Championship work? Tony D'Angelo could possibly make it on the main roster. You know, there was a period of time where I might have not been able to say that about Tony D, but Tony D has grown on me, and he
grew on me as far as a wrestler a while ago, like maybe a year or so ago,
right? Maybe
even a year and a half.
No, that's fine. It took me a while. I remember when NXT when 2.0 first started, and he was in that the War Games match, and I was like, I don't know if he should be in it. But as time went on, he really grew on me. I mean, he's definitely had the character work. I feel like he's always nailed that. The in-ring stuff has been really, I don't want to say it's improved because I feel like it's never been bad, but I think I started looking, I was like, oh, he's a lot better than I give him credit for. So yes, could he make it on the main roster? Possibly. I think his gimmick would work. Would work. If he comes up with
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the example of a good call-up that could actually work, Kiana. They brought her. She's probably been used for main event up there, and that's about it. Right. They haven't used her for anything else on TV.
The last thing I remember her, she was in a qualifying match. I think it was like Money in the Bank, if I'm correct. And that was the last thing. But I'm thinking they're just trying to look for an opening there. Look, it's only been a few months.
I know they got to figure something out for her, but
sure.
She has an entertaining gimmick.
Yeah.
They could really make it work up there, but it's hard to find openings. I mean, like I've said before, Odyssey Jones, he was drafted last year. It took a while, but he finally has something now.
See, you say last year, but it was 2 years ago. Because I think he's been on, like, he's technically...
No. He was still down there in 2022.
2022. Last year was 2023. Unless I'm mixing something up here.
Because I was about to.
That's not 2 years.
Yes,
Look, listen. I'm not the one to even. He been down. So let's put it this way. He's been down there for a while. They finally found an opening for him. I think Keanu James. I would sit here and say it's only been a few months. Let's give it some time. Let's not flip tables just yet. I'm
flip tables, but I'm just saying, like, maybe.
Right.
I'm just saying, she could do a lot up there.
She could. I think so. Okay, let's talk about this real quick, and we'll get to the next segment. Okay, so let's look at this women's division right now, the singles, right? What do you do?
Yeah, that's all they got down there.
Right. I don't see it
anymore. Making it down there is practically illegal. You know why it's illegal? And Charmaine asked this question in our chat. Where are the NXT Women's Championships? So once upon a time ago, they call up Katana Chance and Kaden Carter to get drafted onto the main roster. They go up to SmackDown as the NXT Women's Championships, and they fight Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler for the Women's Tag Championships up there to unify the belts. Ronda and Shayna win, and those belts have been held hostage up there ever since. And the division down in NXT has turned into singles competitors except for the metaphor ever after.
I was going to say the team that Ronda and Shayna beat was Aladon and what's the name? Alba Fire.
Yes, my apologies. I just talked about it so much and a lot's happened that my memory's gotten fuzzy.
And it's all good. Listen, it's wrestling. It's easy to mix up stuff because I do it all the time myself. But and I don't mind what they're doing in NXT where they have a singles championship. I personally prefer that than the tag titles, and I thought the NXT women's tag team was a little bit more. The tag titles are cursed. You said the tag titles are cursed. They've been cursed. A lot of people say that.
They've been cursed. I mean, they don't even get that many title defenses.
There was an interview last year with Chelsea Green. She won the title. She said, "Yeah, they were cursed, but not anymore." And I don't think they have been as bad as it was because there was a period of time where someone won it, they got injured, and they had to drop it. I don't think it's been that bad, but it might be to what you're saying is that those titles have not been defended as much because I can't even really recall when's the last time the titles were defended. And it probably wasn't even that long ago. I just can't, on the top of my head, tell you.
Well, we had a contendership on Raw, and you already know what happened there.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get all three teams competing against each other.
Well, they're going to have to. I mean, if you're the tag champions and you interfere just because you don't want somebody to fight, well, guess what? You're going to fight both teams because you couldn't keep your hands to yourself. And that's what's going to happen to the patriarchy in All In and Wembley. They're going to fight both teams because they're going to keep their hands off of the House of Black and the Bullet Club rejects, basically. And I'm not calling them by that other name because it's stupid as hell, and I can't take them seriously. And I was rewatching the review for the last AEW pay-per-view that I watched, where Mike Knox had asked me, said, if I was a girl, I would bang one of them too. You wouldn't? And I was like, Mike, do you need glasses or something? Because they not good looking. I don't know the who, but they ain't good looking to me.
What, the Bang Bang Gang?
Yes.
I could say I felt when I said that, I felt a part of you died because you was like,
no, part of me didn't die. More like a vein that can't be seen on camera right now was throbbing on my forehead.
No, it's right there. I see it. It's right there. I sense it. I could. It's doing a boom, 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 boom.
Love you, Mike. I know you're gonna watch this tomorrow, which will be Wednesday.
He should watch us because we're great. The NXT review show is great. We got Chris in the chat. He says "Bang Bang Gang."
Still not calling it.
We got Sean May. He said, "I agree with Russell and Doll. They are ugly."
They're not.
I'm assuming you're talking about all of them. Like
none of them are attractive. The Gun Brothers aren't attractive. Juice Robinson has hair that looks so crazy it makes my hair look tame when I have a bad hair day.
There's 4 of them.
Jay White's out. He's injured.
He doesn't count. Like he doesn't do
Not
anything.
at the moment.
Okay. I was gonna say a lot of people go with Jay White. And cool.
We had Eddie Thorpe versus Lexis King, and and Eddie Thorpe didn't even get a proper intro because Lexis King attacked him right away, going after the cast on his arm and using the injury to set up the coronation to win very fast.
Yeah, this match didn't do anything for me. I'm really just not the biggest Eddie Thorpe fan.
I'm not the biggest Lexis King fan.
Oh, so I think that's hilarious. We're like, I'm not a big fan of this person. I'm not a fan of this person. So for us, we're just like, okay, it was there. I think Lexis King going over was the right choice. I really didn't write a whole lot except, I mean, you already mentioned it, how Eddie.
Squash. There was nothing to write about.
It wasn't really necessarily squash because, like, Eddie got offense.
Eddie Thorpe has his intro, but Lexis King interrupts. Lexis King hits Eddie Thorpe's injured arm. Lexis King sets up the coronation to win. Lexis King wins. That's literally all the notes for it.
Man, I mean, pretty much. I mean, you have more notes than me. Mine's just like 2 letters. I said, Eddie right hand wrapped. Lexis work on Eddie's injured hand. Lexis wins. That's literally all I wrote. That was like my notes. It really didn't do anything. I honestly, for me personally, like this feud don't do anything for me. I think it does.
It's a filler feud. It's for something for both of them to do to get in the swing of things, more so for Eddie since he was gone for a while, and then they brought him back with this new gimmick. And with Lexis, they're still trying to figure out what to do with him ever since they brought him
but I feel like there's more direction with Lexis than Eddie. Like, okay, cool. With Eddie, they're talking about like he's a DJ and his nationality, and that's all cool.
They got to figure out something with Eddie because the last time they made somebody do something remotely close to like entertainment, she's now doing a little backstage feud with Robert Stone to be the assistant to Ava Ray.
Oh, you're talking about Stevie Turner. I love her. I don't know why. She just cracks me up. She's just when she had that match with Jordan Grace, because I didn't even realize she was injured, and when she came back, I was like, hey, wasn't she the girl who did like the podcast gimmick and stuff like that? And I don't know. I adore her. She's great. Real quick, I guess we could just tie this into the match here, but we had Lola Vice. She was backstage with Kalani Jordan, and they were talking about Tatum Paxley. Tatum Paxley was backstage. She was playing with Doll, and Lola said, "Nah, don't worry, I'll talk to her." And when she was trying to talk to her, she was trying to have a conversation with her. That's when Tatum broke out and said, "Hey, you're not my friend. Wendy's not my friend. Kalani's not my friend. What do you want?" And Lola was like, "Who are you talking to? Yo, we can settle this in the ring," which they end up doing. They end up having a match. I guess we could talk about this because I feel like we talked about the Trick promo. So, as you guys can tell, I write stuff down here. Right in the thing.
He is a professional.
Oh, stop it, please.
I was also about to say that Tatum Paxley did get up in Lola's face and said, "Well, we're not all MMA fighters who got everything handed to them." And I was thinking, not everybody that's an MMA fighter gets everything handed to them, but okay. If that's what you want because you meant that Wendy Chu, someone that you thought was going to be your friend, decided to stab you in the back and literally choke you out to sleep, then so be it. If you really want no friends, then so be it.
I gotta say that was pretty damn ballsy to be getting it. Look, I think I've said it a few times. I don't think I think I can speak for the chat here. None of you guys would say any of that to Lola's face because she would really choke you. So I looked at Tatum and I said, "Wow, that's ballsy," because I couldn't tell that woman that at all. This match was, I think I want to say it was like paint by numbers. Like, it gave Tatum something to do. Lola gave her a victory. It was fine. I think there was a few things that they did here. They gave Lola the win, and they also had because Kalani was out there, she was on commentary, and she got attacked by Wendy Chu. So I feel like there was a few things there. You got Wendy Chu to get put her out there so she gets more eyes on her. And Lola, I want to make sure I got this right. I didn't put this in my notes here. So we have Wendy Chu. She's going to be on next week. She's supposed to be facing Lola Vice, correct? Okay. All right. So she's going to be out there. So it looked like this is all to set up for one Wendy Chu to be the next contender for the Women's North American Championship. What are your thoughts about the match, and what do you think about Wendy Chu being the next opponent for Kalani Jordan?
Well, I think she'll definitely play a lot more mind games than Tatum Paxley did when she went up against Kalani. Dolls not included, of course. But I think it'll be an entertaining match. I think it'll be fun to see. And I'm just going to say that Booker T saying the Gauntlet Eliminator for next week was unfair, that no one has earned a title shot. I mean, that's the whole point of this, to give women who didn't get a title shot a proper chance. I know you're upset because one Miss JC Jane was not pulled out of the thing from the thing at random to do so. I can understand that. I was thinking she was going to get picked to be one of those 6 too.
She should have. Wrestling Door, you mind if I take a moment to sit here and have my JC Jane rant here? You're amazing. I just want to sit here and say I'm very upset at the NXT committee. I think they could have done better. JC Jane deserves to be in that gauntlet match. She has been there for 3 years. She has given her heart, her soul, blood. Tell me I'm lying that there's no blood. There is blood. She has done a lot there, and this is the thanks that she gets. I think that Ava Rain should be ashamed of herself. Shawn Michaels should be totally ashamed. Shawn Michaels, I'm not even going to lie to you. Shawn Michaels, you are embarrassing yourself by not including JC Jane in this. And now you got these women involved. And look, we got Wren Sinclair, Adrian, I almost said Rosado, Ruka, Jada Parker, Kendall Gray. I'm not going to disrespect Kendall Gray.
They have like almost everybody in. Well, Ren and I guess Jada's technically a heel, and the rest are all faces. I honestly, nothing against Kendall Gray because the rest of them are a little more known to the public. I would have replaced JC. That would have been a little more even as far as faces to heel. But
let me ask you something. Kendall Gray, does she have any? Look, they said this whole thing is set up for people who hasn't had an opportunity, right?
Yes.
Has Kendall Gray has gotten a victory?
As far as
nope. What victory has she ever earned a victory? No. Now look, Wren Sinclair, she has a victory. I can't say Adriana. I don't think she's ever had a victory, but okay, we're gonna give her opportunity.
It was a group victory with the family in a pay-per-view. That's as far as I've seen. But singles victories, if she had one, I don't remember.
Good job, Wrestling Doll. I know you're trying to you're bringing the facts here, and you're doing a fantastic job on it. That's why you're here on Tuesdays and not on Fridays, or Saturdays. I'm sorry. Even though SmackDown is on a Friday, but they have it on a Saturday. But you're here on Tuesdays. You're bringing the facts. I can sense the facts. But I'm going to sit here and say JC should be involved in here as the conductor of the Jane train. I will always sit here and talk about the injustice here. And I think it's an injustice. I see George in the chat. He says, boo. That's very rude. We have Good Chris. I don't even know if I want to say Good Chris. I might have to say somewhat Good Chris because he says JC Jane already had a championship match with Roxanne and she lost. I don't recall that. Now we have George in here says now JC Jane and Jasmine Nix and Fallon Henley are involved with Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. And honestly, you know what's going to happen to Lash and Jakara? They're going to say it with me, dominated. And that's what's going to happen. Somebody Good Chris says none of the 6 women are not beating Roxanne Perez for the NXT Women's Championship. And George is out. George, I'm going to need you to take at least 25 points away from yourself because there's no justice for JC Jane. rude. But
He's siding with you on that one.
he is.
In that sense.
He says there's no justice. Like he doesn't want her to have justice.
No, he's saying that if he means it like that, then he'll correct it. But I will say that when people say there's no justice, like where's the justice for so and so? That's what they mean, like that. So
what they're saying is George is an undercover JC Jane fan. Good job, George, and you have redeemed yourself, George. George, pat yourself on your sweater back. Good job. We got New Age Train says I watched the Trish Stratus A&E biography. I haven't. The last biography that I did watch, I didn't even finish it, was Roman Reigns. So that should have been a good one. Trish Stratus. That should be a really great one. We got George who says, "Nah, Lash Legend is going to dominate." You're saying the word.
Listen, if it's going to be the Metaphor versus JC and Jasmine, they're going to have Fallon in their corner, and Fallon's going to do whatever it takes to get them to lose.
That's right. And also, too, one, JC Jane, I don't remember the last time she lost. Anytime she lost, she got robbed. I'm just going to just throw it out there. I don't remember a time where she got beat clean. But we're going to, we talked about this women's match. Let's talk about this. I feel like we should play a commercial, but let's talk about this and then we'll play a commercial. Let's talk about the Wes Lee promo here. He gets to speak. He talks about why he turned on the Rascalz. It seems so random on why he turned on his boys.
It was like an arcade. It was like Randy Orton when he had that for a moment, RKO out of nowhere. So it literally hit us all out of nowhere. So he shakes his head at the fans because they are booing him heavily, which I can understand because everybody in that room loved him. He says he gets it, that last week he shocked the world. And he shocked himself too, honestly. He truly believed he was going to win the tag titles with his best friend, but that Zach let him down again. And then he says that it goes back to 2 years ago when he first let him down, which we know the spiel. We're not going to talk about it again because that gets my blood pressure going a little bit. But he said one of the greatest NXT tag teams in history dead. When it all happened, everyone was feeling sad for Zach, but sorry for Wes. I wasn't feeling sorry for Wes. I felt sad for him because his best friend got let go for that. He said that they were wondering what he could do next, thinking that he was only a tag team guy. I never thought that. But because he was only shown as a tag team guy on TV there.
Sure.
That's all we had seen. But he said that he busted his hump to become the greatest North American champion of all time. But that Zach and Trey abandoned him to reunite at TNA while he broke his back to become a top star in NXT. He says he's done being a caretaker. He's done worrying about what Zach will say or do. He was the one who put everything together when they were the Rascalz. He was the one driving them from city to city, squashing their beefs, waking them up for flights, for all of it, and that he's done taking care of Zachary. Where he wants to go, he knows that he cannot have his best friends riding his coattails, and he knows that the only reason they came back was for the WWE rub. And while he's doing that, someone shouted from in the crowd, "Talk your Wes." And he says he knows there'll be a match with Zachary with No Mercy coming up. And he says it's a fitting name because he will show none of it when he beats the living hell out of his former partner. And that once he does, they can go back to TNA and have a wonderful career while he aspires for bigger and better things like the NXT championships. And that the fans clapped and that he wished them the best in their future endeavors.
Love that. I really did. I like that the little touch without
it's not done. It's not done. A little bit more. Pete Dunne's music plays, and he comes out saying that he's actually impressed that Wes Lee did it, but he's focused on the NXT championship and that Wes Lee being fixated on it is a problem. Joe Henry's music plays, and he comes up with a sneak attack from behind, and then a brawl that happens between the three of them, and then security is rushed in to break it all up. Now we're done with that.
I loved it. I loved it. So to touch that last part there, that was Joe getting his revenge from earlier because Wes super kicked him early in the night. I did like when Pete Dunne actually made me laugh here. So when Pete Dunne came out, he said, oh, I love this and all this stuff. I'm sitting there, so of course, because you like chaos. Like you're just a guy, you're just an agent of chaos. But I did like this promo here. I did like that he used real life without digging too deep. Sometimes you don't even have to do all that. You can touch on it without digging much. So when he mentioned about you left me, and then all these other things that I don't feel wrestling fans knew, he talked about
some wrestling fans. I'm not going to say a lot because there are some that do know from going to shows or knowing people that are in the business.
Sure.
Being an indie wrestler, which is exactly what Wes Lee was before he got signed onto TNA, onto NXT, so on and so forth. When you're doing that by yourself, you're the one that's in charge of taking care of getting to and from a show, to helping to set up the ring and set up everything in the place where you're going to have your matches. For flights, if you have them, if you're going to be wrestling outside of your normal place of wrestling, making sure that you get there on time, making a good impression on promoters, on the camera people, on those that make merchandise. Everything is very important. And if you want to hear people talk about stuff like that, listen to people like Matt Cardona, who's been doing this for a very long time. Mm-hmm. So when you have to deal with stuff like that, and when you have to worry about other people to take care of them, it can build up with frustration if you're not being appreciated for it.
Right. And I was saying, like, I did like that they touched on that. Because that was something obviously I didn't know, but like I did enjoy that he mentioned all these things. He talked about being left. He talked about them reuniting, and it gave me this thought of, hey, is it possible? Because a lot of people have been talking about this TNA, NXT like cross show and whatnot, and the way he said, like, yeah, you'll go back to TNA, and like almost like that's so like a disparaging thing. But meanwhile, I'll be in NXT being a WWE superstar. So I wish you the best in your future endeavors, which is something that really happened to him. He did get his future endeavors. So I thought he delivered on this promo. I wasn't too sure how I would feel about Wes Lee. I mean, it's still early too with Wes Lee as a heel, because I've been so accustomed with him being a babyface that
he's been a babyface up until last week, the entirety of his career down there.
Yeah, and it's something that he's somebody, like, there's certain wrestlers that I see where they've been a role for so long that I'm like, can they do this? And Roxanne is a lovely example, because Roxanne is somebody who, when they turned her heel, and I still felt like it was a little forced, but nonetheless, I still sit here and go, I didn't know if this would work, and I think she's been knocking it out the park. And real quick, because then we're going to play a commercial. We got George, who said Wes Lee told the truth. Good Chris says, I like Wes Lee even more. George says, and Wes Lee became the greatest NXT North American champion of all time, period, end of story. And no, it's not Dominic Mysterio. And I agree. Wes Lee is definitely, I don't want to necessarily say pitch, but I threw out the idea that maybe one day we should do a top 5 NXT North American champions. And I can already reveal that Wes Lee is on my list.
And he's on mine, and I can reveal a couple people that we will not have on that show, because if we have the executive contradiction on there, all he's going to do is go on and on and on about Dominic Mysterio, and I don't need to hear that.
Maybe we can make that a thing eventually, because I know that it's been a while since there's been a top 5 here on UPR, so maybe we can do that. And good Chris, I want to say thank you, sir. He says, you both are my favorite YouTubers, so thank you so much. That's such kind words. We try our best to entertain, be informative in this wrestling media. There's so many wrestling podcasts. I mean, we're not the first wrestling podcast, so there's so many different things, but we always try to find a way to stand out. So thank you for that. We got George, who says Wes Lee is number one, the greatest North American champion. Maybe one day we will do that. Maybe one day we'll do that. And hopefully you will be in the chat with us, George. I know myself, and I feel like the Wrestling Doll should be doing it. And I mean, if EC was on, oh boy. So while we play a quick commercial, it's funny. Usually these commercials are like 60 seconds, but people are now making these things 2 minutes. So we're gonna just find a quick one, because I think we're moving along very well with the show here. So let's play it short, and we'll be back after these words.
Thank you. 609,000 viewers. They lost people to the Olympics.
Well, I mean, the Olympics is a big draw.
You know what? You're absolutely right. This is why I think instead of signing, hear me out, EC, instead of signing Shane McMahon, you know who Tony Khan should be really signing right now?
Who?
Simone Biles, the biggest name in Olympics right now.
No.
Listen, who's more into flippy shit than Simone Biles? She's the queen of flippy shit. Sign this chick quick, Tony Khan. Come on, call
She's not a
her.
wrestler.
What?
She's not a wrestler.
Neither is half that roster on AEW. What are you talking about, Chris? Who cares? Have her come out, do some flippy shit. People will watch. Sign Simone Biles. That's AEW's cure right there. I better get it. At least a 10% cut of that contract because I came up with this idea. Come on. If Simone Biles shows up on Wednesday night, would you watch?
No.
What?
It's not a wrestler.
But she's doing flippy shit. She's a gold medalist in flippy shit. Hello? 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 How, Sway?
It's the hello. That gets me. That was UPR Shorts. You have the executive consultant and one Big Daddy Cool. We got George. He says, I can see Julia showing up at NXT No Mercy. It's interesting because Julia, we have Stephanie, right? Which one do you think shows up first? Oh, that's just a question for everybody. If anyone have an answer. You have one, Wrestling Doll?
At least from my perspective. My guess is
I think you froze, madam. We got good Chris who says
Julie shows up in NXT to be a contender to challenge for the belt. And
okay. Well, good Chris in the chat, he agrees with you. He said Julia as well. Yeah, I mean, it probably would make sense because she was already she was signed first, right? I don't think you have to rush out Stephanie, and I think you could save her. I don't know for how long, but yeah, I can see Julia. I think a lot of people are already expecting for one Julia to appear. Julia, because her final match, she has a final match. Well, good. Thank you for that input there, George. Her final match is August 19th. I feel like, is that this week? No, it's not. That is next Monday. Next Monday would be, yeah, Monday would be that next Monday would be her final match. Okay. We talked about the Wes Lee stuff. Let's talk about Femi. He defended the North American Championship. He went against one Otis, who lost yesterday to the Creed brothers, but he was the one who answered the challenge. I mean, look, this match was a match. This was a meat match. There was a lot of man meat going on here. So, you know, I don't know what to tell you, like, except that it was a match of, hey, Ober, he's a powerhouse, but then you got Otis, who's a powerhouse. Otis was giving him the works for a period. Eventually, Ober Femi. Let me ask you something. Do you think Ober Femi, does he come off as a heel to you?
no,
Okay.
I don't think he's come off as a heel, and I don't think he's come off as a face. I don't think he's necessarily a tweener. I just think he's Oba Femi. You can think he's good, you can think he's bad. It doesn't matter. Which means he's doing a fantastic job.
I love that.
He's never gone after any particular faces, and he's never gone after any particular heels. Just anybody who comes his way to challenge him for that belt.
It's actually interesting that you say that because, like, I feel like that's still a tweener, but you're like, yeah, I don't know if he's a tweener. I don't know if he's a heel. I don't know if he's a face, but he'll beat you up. That's what that big man will do. I did want to include here before the match, Tony D'Angelo. He was being interviewed talking about his defeat early in the night against Charles Dempsey, but Oba Femi for the second week just walked by him, and you can see that they're setting this up.
Yeah, they're setting up Tony D versus Oba since now that he no longer has the championship.
I'm for it though.
If we don't get Oba Femi versus Moose, I mean Tony D versus Oba will be the next best thing right now.
There's something about, and I think it's something about the body structure of both these guys that intrigue me because I sit there and go, this would be definitely a heavyweight fight, and I think that's what brings me into it and made me go like, oh, I'm into this. Femi beats Otis. I mean, I don't think anyone expected anything different.
No.
The spot at the end was where it looked like Otis was going for the 10 punches in the corner, and Femi just countered to a powerbomb. He hit him with a sit-out version of it and got the win. This wasn't what I feel like there's been Femi matches that I've seen that I really got brought into, and I was like, oh man, I really like it. I can't say this was one of them for me.
That's
I don't
fair.
think this match was horrible, but I've seen Femi have some better matches.
Yes.
What are your thoughts there, Wrestling Dog?
No, you said it all. I really don't have much to say about this match. It was fine. Is it
Yeah,
the most exciting? No. Is it my favorite Femi match? No. But he's doing what he's doing now, which is defending that championship and being a dominant champion. And I don't say it the way you do because only you can.
but you can say you just gotta put the emphasis on it. You just go,
Can, but it's better when you say it.
isn't she the best, guys? Like she see, this is what Z has been trying to take away. You see how we're complimentary to each other. You know, you have your way and you have your catchphrases. You sat here and said, no, that's your catchphrase. You should do it like that. You're fantastic. Matter of fact, I want to give a shout out here to Sabrina Estella. And I see how Z tried to do it, and it's not good. You know, I'm going to give you a C, and that's because I'd rather not see that anymore. So that was good. Thank you. I want to give her flowers because, you know, I was ready to do this show in a regular shirt, and she said, no, you should wear your JC Jane shirt. She has sat here and been a part of this train called the Jane Train. That's why it's actually 2 seats because you got to have
I've been part of the Jane Train since she was still in Toxic Attraction when all y'all were dueling over Gigi and Mandy.
That's true, and that's not including me. That's right. See, there you go. And can you imagine if she ever wins some gold? I'm driving that train off the tracks. It might be dangerous. I might have to let you drive the train because it might get bad.
Speaking of dangerous things, we had Brooks Jensen cutting a pre-taped promo about how people gave him empty words and that someone else helped him every step of the way as a mentor, basically saying like if it wasn't for him, none of this would be possible. And then it pans back to see that it was about Sean Spears, of course. He's basically asking Sean, I did good on that, right? And he's like, yeah, let's go. And meanwhile, Malik Blade, Idris Enofe are watching it in the locker room, and they're disappointed at the fact that he's being manipulated because they all came up together in the development around the same time in NXT with Hank and Take saying some words, and they mentioned that they have a date with the OC next week after they crash the barbecue at night 2 of Great American Bash.
I'm glad that you mentioned all that. It's always great to see Malik and I mean, lately, so I don't watch NXT Level Up, but I've known I was listening to a podcast and they mentioned how like recently Ildris and Malik had been doing some single stuff. I think that's cool, but I really want them to stay as a tag team, and I want them to have their moments. I mean, I think I think both of us when
almost 3 years, because next month is going to be year 3 of the birth of NXT 2.0.
Right. Oh my God, it's so crazy that right. That was in September that they did that.
September 14th.
Oh, look at you! You remember the date? I remember.
Of course I remember. It was there. It was 5 days before my birthday. I remember.
Huh? We got in the chat because I want to make sure that I want you guys to know that we see what's going on in the chat. I do want to say George.
What's going on? We just don't always put it up sometimes, especially if some of the things that are said are going to make either myself or the great grandson Poopa here's blood pressure go through the roof.
And it is going through the roof because
saying in there is definitely going to do that. So we're not going to share any of it up here. So
I won't, but I will let you guys know because George, the Jane Train, is going to get derailed. I don't think so because you know why?
That train was going to get derailed after Toxic Attraction split because everybody thought that Gigi was going to be in the spotlight and JC was going to be in the back and catering.
Look at you, George. That's right. You know what, George? You know what you're giving, George? It sounds like you just had some spaghetti and you spilled it on your sweater. And that's embarrassing. You should be ashamed of yourself. We got Z who sits there and says, you know what? The SmackDown Penitentiary has a nice train too. And I sit there and go like, yeah. And then we have Z the Sound who says Goldberg put Bret Hart in retirement. That is very rude. That
He
is
says
Look,
that because he knows how much you do not like one Mr. Bill Goldberg, and I can understand.
Bill?
Because I'm not a big fan of him either.
He-
So when he was on here, was trying to put me on that train, I was like, no.
Yeah.
I'm on that train. Do not put me on there.
Yeah, you see that, Z? You know, your train has been it's been taken off the train, not the train that I'm on. So
You know how in the cartoons they had them like in the crossroad trails like that, and they would pull the thing down? That's what happened just now.
woo! Take that, Z. See, Z, should be ashamed of yourself, Z. I want to give you your flowers, Z, because you do a great job on SmackDown. Too good. It actually
Well, he
upsets
does
me.
say that our show as well as their show are two of the best on the program. So
See, I see when Z does good things like that. How can I be mad at Z? He's a great guy. He has style and pizzazz. I get jealous of you, Z, but not the way you talk, because talking about Bill Goldberg. You should brush your teeth after saying Bill Goldberg. And then goggle some peroxide. Yeah, you should brush it, and not for 2 minutes. I know you're supposed to do it for 2 minutes, but like 5, just to get the nasty taste out your mouth after that. And then right after that, brush it again. I'm sitting there and say you should brush your teeth for 24 hours after saying that. We got the next thing. I don't think there's
we
any
had
other
a real quick match. I'm going to say like this because earlier in the show, Brinley Reese and Izzy Day were kind of going a little back and forth about not being picked for the Gauglet match. Izzy was upset and all annoyed, like I should be in the match. I mean, the look on her face said it all, especially when she saw the things were being pulled out and none of them had her name. And then Brinley was all in her face, like I didn't get picked either, but you don't hear me whining and moaning and groaning and complaining about it. And then Izzy said, shut up, I'll just settle it with you in the ring. And so they settle it in the ring, and Izzy beats her.
Oh yeah. Did you see this picture? So I don't follow on Instagram, but like every now and then there's like suggested on like on your timeline or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But I saw this picture of Izzy Dame and Jordan Grace. And I know Izzy Dame is a tall girl, but I was like, damn, is she that tall? Because there's a picture. She put her hand out like this, and you have Jordan Grace trying to reach out for it. And I was like, either she's really that
Izzy Dame is 5'10".
Oh, she's tall. Okay. No, she's tall. And I think Jordan Grace is like 5'3", actually. Because there was a huge height. Like
he's 5'3". Jordan Grace is 5'3".
Okay. Yeah, no, she looked very big. And I was like, damn, is she that? I thought she was like a giant. I mean, she practically kind of is. Like,
She is as far as women's heights go. That is very tall for women.
I feel like Izzy Dame could just throw someone through the wall if she wanted to. That's how, like...
Me? Look how tiny I am. I'm like
5'4". You say all that. I met you in real life, and you're actually pretty tall. Like, please. You're fooling everybody.
Well, no, I wasn't wearing shoes that gave me a bit of height, but...
It was great. Next time I come out there, it's gonna be great. We're gonna get some tacos. You're gonna hear me badmouth the executives. See you with the tacos.
Of course I am. We need to get some birria tacos. I want to try those.
Which one?
Birria tacos.
What kind of tacos?
They're called birria. So it's like shredded meat with cilantro and onion on the inside, and the shell and the taco shell is crispy, but it's covered in consomme, which is a beef broth, and they cook it up real crispy, so it's still crispy but juicy. And then they give you a cup of it on the side so you can dip it and eat it.
See, I like those kind of tacos. Okay. I think I've seen stuff like that, and it has
it's all over. You can have restaurants with all kinds of different things for it.
I got to make a trip out there. I'm gonna tell the executive consultant we're doing. It's funny when I come out there, right? I mean, I told him a lot. Next time I come out there, it's like I don't want to do anything major or anything like that. I just want to do an NXT show. But I remember going out there and what was it, last year? And I was like, tacos. So you just like tacos? I was like, I love tacos. How can you not like the only person I know who don't like tacos, and I love this woman to death because she gave birth to me, is my mother. She does not like tacos. I'm going to try to convince her. I'm going to try to have her join the dark side, but it's not working. I'm going to keep on trying. Let's talk about this main event here. Real quick, though. I'm
just going to say this.
Sure, please take the floor, madam.
Kelly quickly interviewed Ava, mentioned the 6-woman gauntlet match with the winner getting a shot at Roxanne at No Mercy, announces the triple threat between Joe Hendry, Wes Lee, and Pete Dunne next week to determine the winner that's going to face Ethan Page at No Mercy. Roxanne says she comes in to say it doesn't matter who wins next week because they'll be waiting a long, long time to become the NXT Women's Championship. After that, Ashanti the Adonis creeping in on a couple of ladies who helped them out last week.
Yeah.
They say they're disappointed they didn't get into the gauntlet, but he says that they should focus on him instead, which they're not interested. So he goes over to Dion Lennox, and a few of the other girls come up to him, and they say that they like the book he's reading. He's like, he thinks they're just playing a game. He's just playing a game to get the girls, but Dion's just being himself. Which is basically the same thing in like almost every teenage TV show. Like guys, when they see other guys that are like that, they're all studious and calm and written book, they always think, oh, they're just doing that to get a girl's attention, even if they're just being themselves. Not every guy is trying to be a player, trying to get the ladies all the damn time. They just want to focus on reading. Let them focus on reading.
I thought it was actually hilarious, the segment. And it's funny that you mentioned that about like almost like teen dramas and stuff like that, right? Because they're getting ready to move to the CW in October. I don't have the exact date.
October 1st.
Thank you. So it's kind of fitting here that when you say that. I thought this part was actually kind of funny, and shout out to you for bringing that part up. But I thought it was funny because bro was really like, well, I'll see you in the ring next week. And bro was like, no, that's the name of the book. Like he's minding his business. You imagine like you're minding your business. You're not bothering anyone. You're in your own world.
And we already know how that's gonna go. Ashanti the Adonis is going to get his ass beat by the person who was minding his own damn business.
Oh my god! And I like Ashanti. You know, I do want to sit here and say this. I mean, I see him taking the L next week, right? But I do. So when Hit Row Swerve him, Top Dollar, and
B-Fab.
There was something about him that caught my attention. I don't know if it was the style. I was something about him. And I was like,
they just had a certain sense of charisma. All four of them.
Yeah.
So
and
things happened and Swerve went his own way. Now he's literally one of the top champions in AEW right now. And then they had brought the rest of them back. It was okay, but they just didn't have any plans for them for a while. So Top Dollar got let go, and now he's doing his own thing in TNA. B-Fab is still there being a manager for the Street Profits because she is a great talker. And they brought Ashanti the Adonis down here after being called up to SmackDown in the draft, being teamed with Cedric Alexander to have some mentorship, so to speak. And then they get called down so they can give the people what they've missed out.
And you know what? And I think we said this before when we saw them being called down. I don't remember exactly, but I think them being an NXT, because I like Cedric Alexander.
We said it would be a good thing because not everybody watched main events, so not everybody saw what Cedric Alexander could do there. And Ashanti the Adonis was hardly used in the first place as far as for matches and stuff. The only time he was ever used in matches was for tag matches with Top Dollar.
And I thought them being a tag team, when they put them as a tag team, I was like, okay, this is cool. Like these are two guys that I
work.
Yeah, and I wanted it to, and it didn't. So them right now, and even right now, Ashanti down here, and he's doing this thing where he just want to his focus is women and not in ring. I'm like, hey, dude.
It reminds me of another person who was down there in NXT once upon a time ago. And then they called him up, and then he became a world champion. They had to become a U.S. champion, and then a tag champion, and then a former world champion now. And that man's name is Damian Priest.
Oh, check that out.
He did have a ladies' man gimmick down there once upon a time ago.
I remember the promos. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, because he was living the rock style lifestyle. We got real quick, and we're gonna get to the main event here, but we got Good Chris. He says he loves tacos. Great. Fantastic. We got George who says Taco Tuesday, bad guy. Who are you? LeBron James? Because he likes Taco Tuesday. Who doesn't like Taco Tuesday? Like, I don't even eat.
Tuesdays are fun and tacos are yummy because you can put whatever you want in them.
Tell you what, guys, why don't we do this one Tuesday? Me and the Wrestling Dog, we'll figure it out, but we'll have a Taco Tuesday theme show. You bring your tacos, we bring our tacos. Hard shells, soft shells, whatever. We'll have a Taco Tuesday right here. And you get to watch us eat tacos. And you can tell us what your tacos is. we'll do that. How about that? We'll have a taco theme. Matter of fact, we might have to get Captain Katie.
Taco Tuesday.
We should do that, right? That would be fun, right? Tacos, yum. Come on. We got Good Chrissy says, I like Roxanne Perez and I agree with her. And Joy says, Chris is going to be Julia that's going to dethrone Roxanne Perez at NXT Halloween Havoc. It's interesting because before we get to the main event, I did mention the names. You have Wren Sinclair, Adriana Rizzo, so Ruka, Jada Parker, Kendall Gray, and Carmen Petrovic. Thank you. Who do you got going over in this match?
So Ruka.
You got I can see why.
I got it going over, but a close second based on the trajectory of her storyline, Wren Sinclair.
I didn't even think I was thinking Carmen. I think Wren would be interesting, actually, though. Like, I see why Soruka seemed like the fan favorite, right? Like, you got to have a baby face. I know that was your number one, right? I heard from the NXT draft. That was your number one. And listen, you know what? I would want her on my roster too. I think, I was talking to EC earlier, and I think, like for us, we review NXT, so we know what these guys and girls can do. We see these guys and girls, and someone who don't watch it might be like, "Oh, why would you pick her?" I'm like, well, one, you want young talent on your roster, and two, she's going to get better. I remember the first match. Well, I don't remember who her first opponent was, but you saw the athletic ability, and it was like, cool. Now she could working the selling and storytelling and all that stuff. We got something there because. Okay, cool. You can do all these flips. That's cool. But after a while, you get acclimated to it. And I think she definitely has evolved and gotten better. I'm sorry. I was trying to think I don't know how long she's been doing it, but she's definitely.
I found it. So she made her debut September 27th, 2022, defeating former NXT star Amari Miller.
Oh, wow. That was 2 years ago.
Yep. Almost 2 years ago next month.
Wow, time flies. And I remember reviewing that match. I just didn't remember who she went against. But look at her now. She's and she has potential. I don't see her if and honestly, I think because George, I think, nailed it on the head, and you were saying like Julia. I don't see any of these girls beating Roxanne, but nonetheless, it's a great position to be in regardless. So like if Soruka does win, and her being in the ring with someone who, I mean, let's be real, Roxanne has been killing it. I think that would be a good thing for her. Okay, let's get to this main event. We had Axiom and Nathan Frazier. They defended their NXT Tag Team Championship against Chase U, which was I almost said Andrade. I'm sorry, Andre Chase and Ridge Hollins. Huh?
I know I was saying in Ridge Holland. I'm just going to say this. Booker T said something that I agreed with him tonight as opposed to what he said earlier tonight that I disagree with him on. And he says he trusts Ridge Holland to bite him like a snake. Listen, everybody that goes into Chase U to try to help always turns on them. So I've been saying it for ages. I don't trust Ridge Holland. I never will trust Ridge Holland. He ended Big E's career. I don't trust him.
Honestly, I had a conversation with someone about this, and I said, yeah, no, Nathan and
no, we know Nathan Frazier and Axiom are gonna break up. It's only a matter of time.
No, it's not that. I thought they were going to retain, and I thought Ridge was going to already turn on Andre. I was looking forward to that.
They slow building up. They're going to wait till their guards are completely down, till everybody's guards down.
You know how I feel about this school. There we go. Get that beverage in. There we go. Good job. Because I hate this school. And I was looking forward to Ridge turning heel. Not even turning heel. I wanted to say Ridge giving some justice, and I didn't get that. I was very upset to see that Chase U won. I always believe in generational justice, and that didn't happen. But I know Ridge is he's cooking, he's waiting, he's going to eventually put his hands on Andre Chase, because that's what always happens to the school. Let's be real. Chase U, right? There's always some kind of drama here. I've never seen a university with so much drama So much things going on. So I look forward to the day Ridge turns green. He just picks up Andre Chase. He slams him a little bit. I like Duke, but I see Duke is going to be getting the wrath for this. What's the other guy? Not Ridge. What's his name? Osborne. Oh yeah, no. He's just Ridge is just going to throw him in the sun.
Well, I mean, Riley didn't trust him in the beginning, and I still don't think he does either.
Ridge is cooking something. You guys wait. He's just put something on the stove.
Something, and when he turns,
I'm gonna love all of it, and I'll be right here to smile and sit here and tell you this is justice. Andre Chase. I don't think Andre Chase is a really good guy. You've been to school. Have you ever had your teacher say, "Hey, I just spent all this money on funds because I'm a gambler and I drink"? Have you ever had that happen to you?
No, because even if teachers were to complain about money, they would complain about how little they're getting paid.
I don't trust you, Andre Chase.
Justice for our educational system.
Yes. But that's the show.
I mean, match was fine. It was high flying versus strength. I mean, I didn't expect it to happen either, but it happened. They celebrated with their students in there, and the show closed. They're up, basically.
Where all these students come from anyway? I've never seen them a day. And plus, why are they not getting any screen time? Why is it only Duke? Why is it only Rowley? Why is it only Thea? What are these students
because
not
those are the main
enough?
ones that they've given more attention and time and effort into.
Terrible. Awful. You know what I learned here? Andre Chase has favoritism. I think that's a terrible thing to have in your school. If I was these students, I would revolt. I would flip desks. I would throw an apple somewhere. Matter of fact, you know what I do? I just spray graffiti on Andre Chase's car. That's what they should do. Because why are they not getting in the ring? Why are they not getting those reps too?
Well, they're probably doing some training back there. They might not even be ready. Or maybe they're doing stuff on Level Up and nobody sees it.
We might not know that. Because Andre Chase is not giving them that opportunity. You hear what I'm saying? Andre Chase is like the man. He's trying to hold them back. And if I think these students should stand up for themselves, and I think they should sit here and do the opposite of Chase U and stuff. And I'm proud of that statement. And I'm going to.
But that is the NXT show.
I'm glad that you cleaned that up because I would have kept going. But yes, that is the NXT show. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Chase U sucks, but Chase U is the best thing going right now. George, you're just saying anything right about now. I know you. You're just saying things because you think you're just saying things. I knew Chase U was going to win. Good, Chris says, and we also got Chris. I didn't think Chase U was going to win. I honestly didn't think so either. I thought that they would not win. But with all that said, once again, thank you for watching the NXT review show. But UPR, we're just not NXT. There's so much content here on UPR. So let's hit the. Okay, here it is. I'm sorry, I had to look for the thing. There's something for everyone. Monday, 6 p.m. You have the Mike Knox show. He kicks off the week and he talks about all things wrestling, and it's for the intelligent wrestling fan. On Tuesday, you have the Monday Night Review show with Freckles and Friends. I was on with him and the Sheriff. We talked about Monday Night Raw. That is at 7 p.m. for the Monday Night Raw. Tuesdays after 10 p.m., you can catch me and the Great Wrestling Doll. Wednesdays, we have AEW Dynamite. They talk about everything Dynamite after it goes off the air. And on Saturdays at 1 p.m., you can catch Zeta Silent and Vic. They talk about SmackDown, Friday Night SmackDown. They talk about it on a Saturday, 1 p.m. It's in the afternoon, so please check that out. And we don't have a top 5 at the moment, but we will be bringing that back at some point. I don't know when, but just continue to follow on Public View on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, all that stuff. That's where we post when we're going to have schedule shows and different content. With all that said, there's also me and the trio. We're doing right now one-shots on Star Wars shows. We're doing Thursday, I believe at 7, we're doing Obi Kenobi. Not a big Star Wars fan, but we're doing these one-shots. But I did want to talk about, and there's other content too. I'm sorry, UPR Entertainment, they've been doing a lot of other things. I just don't have these shows in front of me, but they have shows as well. But I did want to put this out. If you guys have Instagram, on Sunday at 8 p.m., we go on Instagram Live. We have this thing called UPR Battles. It's a great time. It's a debate show. I'm on it. I'm with C the Superior. We have this guy named Dan something. He's from Bastards. He's from an anime. I'm sorry, I'm just not super familiar with him. C the Superior picked him. We let you guys vote, and you guys voted for Doctor Strange to be his opponent. I will be representing one Doctor Strange UPR battle. We're on season 3. It's a fun show. It's a debate. It's not long. It's 5-6 minutes tops. And you know, you can tune in. We usually have a judge, and we see who did the better debate, and whoever did the better debate is the victor. That's pretty much how debates work, right? Whew! And with that said, I didn't get a chance to do it last week, but let's do it this week. Wrestling Doll, you do UPR content, but you have your content. You have a YouTube channel. There's a link into this whole thing about your YouTube content. Tell them what your YouTube content is.
Well, I have my YouTube channel, The Unofficial Camera Woman, where I go throughout Central Florida, occasionally South, and I film / record and put up matches for the world to see, and you can occasionally catch some current and or former WWE, AEW, TNA, NWA, etc. stars on there as well. So be on the lookout for when I post up some new content.
Fantastic. Please follow that, The Unofficial Camera Woman. Good job on the stuff that you do, madam. I have a audio wrestling podcast. It's called the Big Pop Theory Podcast. It is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I don't think Google Podcasts is a thing anymore. I always say that out of habit. It's on all these different spots where you can listen to audio podcasts. We talk about Monday Night Raw, a little bit of NXT, not so much because both me and my co-host, we talk about NXT, so we don't do it as much, but every now and then we try to sprinkle a little bit of Dynamite, SmackDown, and other things. Matter of fact, this past episode that we did, we talked about Deadpool for like 20 minutes, and it was a great movie. So yes, there's a little bit of spoilers in there. So if you haven't seen it, and at this point, I honestly feel like the movie has been spoiled because the actors themselves have posted things. But it's a good movie. I kid you not, Deadpool is a good movie. I think I had to catch that before they take it out in theaters. But yeah, the Big Pop Theory Podcast, fun time. This was a fun time. You guys are great. You guys are awesome, and we thank you guys for continuing to follow Unpopular Review. I can't stress enough to say hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification button. Helps us out, helps you guys out, so you know when we have some content going on. And with that said, I think that we have nailed every little thing. So, co-host, I am very winded. Do you want to say goodbye to the people who is watching us? Say a good night, give them a wave, all that stuff.
Yes, I would like to wish everybody a good night. Thank you for tuning into our product. And I just want to say one teeny tiny last thing that I forgot to mention earlier, but I just want to give one more shout out to someone who was at the Great American Bash on the show at NXT. And I didn't say anything because I didn't see it clearly enough, but it is former NXT referee Marquise Hamilton. That's what he called himself, but he's also an indie wrestler that goes by the name of Mikey Spandex. And there he is in the crowd with the blue hair next to his tag partner, Dempsey, and they're called Task Force, and they come out with the sickest wrestling gear. I will say that. He comes out with Power Ranger themed gear, Legends of the Hidden Temples, like old school cartoon stuff, even Teenage Mutant Ninja gear. It's good stuff.
No, it is. That's. I mean, one of the things I like is when wrestlers and they bring like not necessarily real life is what it is, but something that makes them, right? So like There was a time Cody used to come out with the Triforce on his boots because he's a fan of Legend of Zelda. So I love stuff like that when people do things where they're like, hey, I'm a fan of this, and they implement it in some kind of way. So that's cool. Cool as hell. And what's cool as hell is you guys. We're going to say good night. We're going to see you guys next week. We sit there and say tune in tomorrow for AEW Dynamite. It's on right after Dynamite.
With Cactus Katie, Dan the Man, and Venomous Fitty.
We got to have Cactus
I'll
Katie.
refer to them by the other thing that Z, this silent likes to refer them by, because I will not say that because it is not a nice thing to say.
Yeah, Z. But shout out to Z. He was in the chat. He was cooking it with us. And
He was a few more so.
oh yeah, no, he tries. And right now I can sit here and say he tried to cook, and all he did was cause a grease fire. And right now that grease fire, there's a lot of people looking for a place of shelter because of his terrible cooking. So I sit here and say, Z, stay out of the kitchen. And with that said, good night, folks.